Hey, good afternoon, guys. This is JVSightSolutions with part one of this video. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to create an action that takes two inputs, right? The first input is a string of sys IDs of comma separated sys IDs for events certificates that are about to expire. And these certificates, they're sitting in the event table in ServiceNow em underscore event table. And then we're going to fetch that data, right, provided by the sys ID. We're going to generate a CSV file with the event details. We're just going to take a couple fields, right, just the creation time, the node, and the description of it. And then we're going to create a CSV file and create and add an attachment to our second input, right, which is the incident sys ID. And then we're going to update that record, right? So in a nutshell, what we're going to do today is we're going to create an action that uses a script that is taking sys IDs from the event table. And these events are going to be used to generate a CSV file that is going to be attached onto an incident ticket. That's the action that we're creating. That's part one. Then we're looking at part two of the video, right? Where we're going to use Flow Designer to create a flow, and we're going to create a job that loops through the event table, looks for this event, and then uses the action to update the recently created ticket with these actions. But for today, we are just looking at part one, and is the creation of the action. Thank you. Hey, good afternoon. So today we're going to create an action. In this action, it's going to take two inputs, right? One of those inputs is a string of event sys IDs from the event table, separated by commas. And then we're going to process that and create a CSV file that we're going to attach into an incident ticket, and take another input, which is the target, which is the sys ID of that incident record that we have. So what we do today is just create the action, test it out. That's part one of the video, and then go ahead and do part two, and technically bring those things together. Use a Flow Designer, run, find records, send those records over to the action, and create the attachment and update the incident ticket with that information. But right now it's part one of the video, which is the creation of the actions. So let's go. Obviously, you go to Flow Designer under Workflow Studio. You create new, go new action. We just named this part one, processing events. We're just going to build this action. And just remember that when building an action, you need to declare your inputs, right? So this action is going to take inputs from from whatever way we use it. But so we need to define those two. As I mentioned before, the first is a lookup records variable. This is our string with all of the sys IDs, and then the target incident that we're going to use for this, which is and you can name this whatever you want, right? Basically, we do that. I like to save my progress as I go along. The next section here is that we're going to add a step. That step is going to be a script. We're going to use a little bit of JavaScript in here. Again, I'm not an expert. There's probably going to be better ways to do what I'm about to do, even more efficient. But it's just the way I know how to make it work, and it works for me. So, and you could do the same, right? Whatever works for you. In that regards. So obviously we have our action. Now we have our step, which is a script. We need to declare the input variables that are going to take the the inputs that we need to be able to manipulate those within the work that we're doing here, right? So so I'll declare that. I'll call this I'm just going to call it records string, and then the second one is the incident sys ID. Get this over, and then remember, right? The action takes the input from whatever step, from whatever's going on, and then we need to be able to manipulate that data within the step in the script, and you need to declare those within that, right? The next section here, it's the we're going to declare uh, an output variable to send these things over, right? So it's gonna, this is accessible from the action, from the step, right? So we're just gonna call this event list. Make sure that gets updated. We're going to save it, right? These are our input and outputs within the step of the script, and then we're going to declare our output that's going to hold our result after the execution of our a script step, right? So and I just like to name it the same, just to be a little bit consistent with it, right? So we save this. Now we get to we need to assign the event list variable, which is this output right here, from the step here, so we could process that later, right? Let me go back to the scripting step here. Hopefully I can make this a little bigger so you guys can see it better. But so let me just get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to declare an empty array that is going to hold our events later on. So let's call this event list, and then we're going to need to declare it so we could get the records, right, into the step. So we're going to define that. Call this record string is equal, and this is how you access those variables, right? The inputs variable, you got to declare inputs, and then the actual variable name that you're using here, right? So that's that. Sorry about that. String. And you know how it is sometimes when you get an empty string, it generates a bunch of errors, and you don't want to do that. So one of the things I like, right? So talking about that, so if you get your input gets an input string that's empty, we want to generate a message in that, so we're going to do that. So let me just do this record string. Well, it's not record string, right? If it's empty, I'm going to trim it. The reason why we're trimming it is because I'm going to use JSON to populate that message, right? So outputs, and this is how you access the outputs variables, right, within your step right here. So outputs in event list, JSON. I don't need to do this, but I'll tell you why I like to do it. The stringify the record. Let's see, no records were provided. Let me format this a little bit so it looks some sort of list, right? All right, so it's that, and then we'd return that, right? Let me just save it so we keep our progress. So the reason why I like to use the JSON formatting data is when you send output out or your actions and scripts, you could use that data and process it and do kind of like convert it again, do whatever you want to do with your data, but it allows for you to reuse that data that's coming out of your output, right? So you could use that output out and get, do whatever, manipulate that data, loop through it, whatever you need to do. So I'm just gonna test this out. So I'm testing that if it's empty, it gives me a message, right? So hopefully, let me see what that looks like. So when you go here, right, so you see here's my stringify message. So message here, no records provided, so that worked. We go back to the action. Let me just cancel this here. Our next step is we're going to define the array that's going to hold the string values that are coming from the inputs variable. So let me just bring this, make it a little bit better here. Yeah, let me just put a comment here, right? So I'm just gonna say create an array with the inputs string, right? So we got that. We're gonna call this what, records array. That, and we're using this the variable we just defined there. We're going to split it, right, because this is going to be comma separated list of sysids that are coming through, and we need to kind of go through them, right? So I'm gonna create this array. Sorry, item that, sorry, just gonna trim that, and that should do it, right? So now we adding all all the records that are coming out from this variable, right, that we are processing here as an input, right? We're taking this guy over here and splitting the records that are coming in, and we're creating an array, right? So that way we could do whatever we need to do. So as this action is goal, we're going to we process an event from the event record, so we need to just declare that so we could look at the data that's coming over from those events. So that's what we're going to do really quick over here, right? So I'm just going to declare this is the event records table where the records, the sysids are coming from, right? So I'm just going to do a glide record here, gr new, and as I mentioned before, we're using the em event table. This could be whatever table where your data is, right? I'm just using the event table because I don't have a lot of data out there, but it could be alert tables, whatever, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to take those events coming through, and we're going to create an array for that. So we're going to need a let me just add a little bit of commentary here. Event records to create an array we initially declared, right? So now I'm going to use this array right here to hold the data that's coming over. So bear with me for a minute. So we're gonna do var. We're just gonna loop through this data. Sorry, 0 that records array. We're gonna. Sorry guys, I'm trying to talk and type at the same time here. Lord. So that's the records array that we pulling the data from, right? So we need the length, right? This is dynamically right. And so we're just looping through that array. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna find that sysid record, right, from the array, and we're gonna try to find it so we could get some information off of it, right? So, and what information is that? We're looking at the labels, right? The creation, the node, and the description. I'll show you that from the table later on, but I just want to keep that in mind, right? So labels here. First we're gonna do our created, right? Gr that get value. So this is the name of the field on that table, right? Created on. You're familiar with ServiceNow. I mean, this is this doesn't change much, right? Node, same deal here. We're just gonna get the node value. I'm gonna call this guy well, the name of it is node. I'm not calling it anything. Sorry about that. And then here, all right. Let's see what's going on here. What am I doing wrong? No. Oh God, sorry about that. I'm trying to type so fast that I'm not even adding the actual array mistakes here. We're pushing, right? We're pushing that there. Let me just make this like this, and we'll clean this up a little bit here too. Right here, we want to make sure that we just have the, so we're pushing that event there, and then the last one there. So we're just gonna do that, right? So sorry about that, guys. Description, we're gonna get the description from the event table. So get that value, and then let me just sorry guys, sometimes I record first and then I kind of talk over, but I'm here, I'm just going what I do here, trying to get some of this information in there where it properly makes sense, right? So right now we're looping through this and we're adding those to the array, and it should create that in there. So let me just show you something. So let me bring this back up. So I took this fields, right? Sys created on the node in the description. That's all coming from the event table. So let me just, so em event that list, that's just the name of the table. And I could show you here node description, whatever, but you actually need that, obviously name of the fields, right, on that table. So if you go to the table, you can see what I was talking about earlier. So here's the I'm using the creation time, right? Created, sys created on. The description is right here, and then the node, right? And you see they're all lowercase. It's not the column label, the actual column name. Let me just go back to part one, processing events, and we'll continue to create our next item. So we did that. So the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to define the CSV content file that we're going to use to attach that, right? So let me just add a little commentary for that. So it said define the content of the CSV file we're going to attach, and I'm just writing this because if I post the video, I may give you the code as well, so you can use it and make it work for yourself, right? So we're going to define the file name that we are going to use. So that will be let's keep it just what is it, CSV content SQL. And what I'm doing here is I'm creating the headers for that CSV file, because obviously we want to use it like in Excel, whatever, right? So node and description, and this is the header information. So we're going to add a new line there as well. So just go to the new line. So now what we're going to use is the array that we created here, right, where we added the items. We're going to use that to create our content file, right? So let me make this so it works a little bit. So var CSV. Hold on a second. Let me just make this a little bit bigger because it's hard to see for me right here. So what I said is we're going to take the items from this array and then just add it into the CSV file that we're creating, right? So we just do event and we're just going to loop through it. Let me just open this a little bit here in there, right? So now we're gonna add to that CSV file from before, CSV content, right? And since we're looping through it, right, we're just going to keep adding to it. So we just keep this simple here. So event, right, and then the event that got created. We're gonna separate those with commas, right? We just want to make sure they go in there. And the reason why you see event node they're successfully being added is because this matches the names of the items that we use when we created the array, right? So I'll show you that. Event description, right? And then obviously since we're looping through it, we need a new line for every record that goes out there, so they're all lined up together. So we're gonna add that in there as well. So here's your new line in there. And then this code here, I like that this it assists you in the creation of things, but sometimes it just, if you're not typing all the data in there, like I had to go back, it could create a little bit of a problem there. But what I wanted to show you here is so we're using the content from the event that we created from the array. So this array here matches the name of the array that we created, right? So we got the created, the node, the description, and we're holding that data in there, and this is we're getting it from the array itself, right? So just want to call that out so you guys could see it. So what we're going to take a look now is obviously now the file is created at this point. So we're going to use the Glysis attachment API from ServiceNow. There's great documentation on this. You could probably use it without. You could look at examples and they work pretty. They work pretty well. But in order to do that, we need the incident record declare. We need that declaration to use it on the formatting of the attachment we're going to create. So declare the incident record, right? So next one is we're gonna do is var incident, and all right. So sorry, I had to stop because started coughing a little bit. But what we're doing now is we're going to declare the incident record, and we obviously we need to declare that with a new, the glide record API, and then we need to use that declaration to get the sys ID that's coming from the inputs. Right, that all makes sense when we do it. So here we got the var incident sys ID variable, and then new glide record. Obviously this target is the incident table, right? We got that there. And then next line will be is we're gonna get that sys ID for that. So get, and we use our inputs, right? Remember we have that declaration on top on the script. So incident sys underscore ID. So it will use that to search for the for that. So what I'm talking about here is this declaration right here, right? So this, and remember to access this variable, you need to do the input and then the variable name, right? So that's where that's coming from. So once we get that, right? So we use an if then statement. Actually, before we even that, let me just declare my sys attachment, sys attachment declaration. ServiceNow documentation is really good. It's no, it's good. Check it out. All right. So next one, right? So we're going to declare that. I'm gonna call this attachment, just like on the documentation over there. New glide sys attachment. Now that we have that in place, so if we do get an incident, right? If an incident is found, then we're going to create our file, right? So let me see, instances ID. We go here. I'm going to see this attachment sys. I want to capture the sys ID that gets created and send that over as my output as well. So that's why I'm declaring that in there. So sys attachment dot. No second, I'm doing something wrong here. Lord, sorry guys. Attachment that right, and here's the sys API, this glide sys attachment API, right? So we need that declaration for the incident ticket. If you just put the sys ID, for some reason I didn't see it. So working correctly, and I tested out, but I didn't want to troubleshoot the glide sys attachment API. That's something that you could do on your own. So what I'm doing here is basically what I'm going to take a look at is now what I need. My next input that I need here is the name of the file that I'm creating, right? The name of the attachment. So I'm going to call this event process. Event records, right? You could call event records that CSV. Again, this is just the name of the file, right? And here next is the content, the type of file that's going to get attached, and that is a text underscore CSV. And you kind of have to look at documentation on the different type of files that are there. And obviously here's our content of that, right? Which is our CSV content file that we created. We should be able to, we'll create that in there, right? The next thing we're going to do is, as I mentioned before initially, I like to use the JSON for my outputs, right? Because that way I could use those outputs in whatever next step I have, right? So if I'm creating an action and the outputs come out, I could get that data and actually process it and use it in the way I want to. So that's why I like using that, but you don't have to. You could just send whatever, right? So I'm gonna clear that output, right? I need to do output so I could access this variable right here. And remember, this variable right here is the output of the script step, right? The actual output of the action itself is this one. That's why we took the output from the script and we made that the value for that, right? Because that's how it becomes available as an output to to the next step or whatever is it that you're doing, whatever is it that you're using this for. So let me just go here. So outputs a event underscore list SQL. We're gonna stringify this. we're gonna send out our array that we created. Again, I'm just formatting this a little bit so it looks it gives you like a nice list formatted JSON format, so you don't get just a straight line. That's what that's doing there. And then in the new line, I'm going to add the sys ID for my attachment. So I'm just gonna do that. Say attachment sys ID, attachment sys ID, and then plus, and then it's that AGR value we have over here, right here, the attachment. This should work. I think I have everything here. Let me just save this out. All right, so now that we made a bunch of updates here, I'm just gonna go quickly. Just gonna first we're gonna run it empty. We should get that error that says that we don't have that. And is it no records were provided? This is good. Let me just cancel this. So one of the things I'm going to do now is I'm going into the, let's go into the event table and let's get a couple of events so we can use for testing. So em event that list, so we could just get some of this. Let me get something that has a node in it, in a little bit of a description in there, like so this guys have a node name on it. So let me just click here, and then I'm going to open that. I'm gonna get the sys ID for this record, and then I'm going to use it for testing, right? There's one record right here, then I'm gonna comma separate that, and I'm going to go back to the second record and get another sys ID. So at least we have, so we want to be able to create an array, right? So you guys can see that when we do it. Now there's copy. We also need a incident record to test this out. So I'm gonna go to incident.list. Now let me just do it like this, incident.list, and we're gonna get a ticket that was created. Let me see this one, incident 71. You see it has no attachment, so I'm going to use that record. Let me do the copy, the sys ID, and then that's the input that I'm going to use, right? Let me run this test, see what happens here. I was creating this on the fly, so oh, it ran. That was pretty fast. So here it is, right? So this is the first record. Here the first record, the second record, and here's the sys ID of the attachment. So we did that. That looks pretty good. And again, here's the output, right? That event list, and it's giving me my output here. It's formatted like this. You know, so you could also create another array with the data and pull the data that you need within those fields. So that's why it was formatted in that manner. So let me now let me take a look at the incident ticket, right? Let me just refresh it. And then here are the records. So I'm just recording on this, but I'm just gonna click on it. You can see that once you click it, you're allowed to open the record. But I'm only sharing the screen of it, but you can see that the file called event records, right, it has 3 records was created there. And let me go back to the processing, open the action, kind of go a little bit over that action again. So remember, your inputs for the actions get declared. These guys are the ones that if you use it in Flow Designer, these are the variables that are going to be available to that Flow Designer, right? So then within the step, right, you need to you need to declare your input variables used by that action, by that script, and then the outside, right? Those are the values taken from here that was assigned to that. And then here's a little bit of the code, right? The section, the event list, the creation of the array, all that info it's in there. I'm going to post the code with this so you guys can see it. Again, I'm not an expert. I do my best, and this is just working with ServiceNow, a little bit of JavaScript and experience that I had. But remember always, you could, if there's an error on your flow, you could say stop the action and go to the evaluation, or you said don't stop, just keep going, right? Doesn't matter to me at this point. because we're not using anything in here for that, but we tested out the action, right? So, and remember, before you can use an action in a flow, you need to be able to you have to publish it first, right? So we're going to publish that, and it will be available for the whatever action whatever flow you use it with, right? So let me just stop here and take it for your time.